So I'm Brian Rogers, and I'm a business lawyer. I know most, if not all of you, know me. I'm a sole practitioner, and the name of my business is Blue Maven Law. And I focus my practice on helping people buy and sell small businesses. And I was thinking about this, and it's kind of interesting. I've done a few presentations for E4E, and I think this is the first time I've done something that's really in my wheelhouse as far as the exact focus of my practice. But anyway, I'm going to share some thoughts, some observations, and hopefully at least a word or two of wisdom about buying and selling a business. And if you're a business owner, maybe you'll take a few tidbits. So it's kind of common wisdom that in America, people's homes are generally their largest asset if you're talking about somebody that owns a home. But for business owners, their largest asset is usually their business. And so for a lot of business owners, they're expecting to be able to fund part or maybe all of their retirement when they sell their business, or at least fund their next phase in life. And if you're a business owner, you're obviously going to exit at some point, whether you want to or not. None of us are going to just run our businesses forever. And if you have a standalone business, a business that can run without you, basically, there's some value there, and potentially quite a lot of value. So one thing that you should think about if you're planning to sell your business to fund your next phase in life or your retirement is to know your number. I mean, how much money do you need out of your business? I've seen a number of deals that just weren't possible because the seller needed more money from the business sale than the business was worth. And so it just wasn't possible. So we would end up getting stuck on price, and it was a hurdle that we just couldn't get over because the buyer wouldn't pay more than it was worth, obviously, but the seller just couldn't sell for the dollar amount that the business was actually worth. And so it was just a frustrating and futile process. And I've seen that happen a number of times. So I'm going to talk about preparing your business, and I'll spend just a few minutes, a little bit less time, talking about preparing yourself to sell your business. And when I'm talking about preparing your business for sale, basically I'm talking about maximizing the value of your business. And the business value really is a function of profits, profits that your business throws off year after year, and risk. So the amount of money that your business generates adjusted for risk. And a common way of valuing a business is to take some metric of profits and multiply it by a multiplier. And so let's take an example of a business that's throwing off $300,000 a year to its owners. And this number that's multiplied by the multiple could be, depending on the industry that the business is in, it might be net revenue, it could be gross profit, even net profit. A common metric is something called seller's discretionary income. And it's basically the money that the business throws off and returns to the owner year after year. So let's say that this particular business is throwing off $300,000 a year, and an appropriate multiple for the industry is 4. You would calculate that the business is worth maybe $1.2 million. But if the owner is working and in the business in a critical to its success, maybe it's the CEO or maybe doing operational work or whatever, that $300,000 may be a little bit misleading. Because it might represent the compensation that is being paid to the owner. So the owner thinks, well, the business is throwing off $300,000 a year, so it should be worth $1.2 million, when in reality, half of that amount just represents compensation to the owner. And so it's really just returning profits of $150,000. So once you multiply it by 4, it's worth half as much. I've seen a lot of sellers disappointed once they learn the true value of their business. And one of the biggest reasons they're disappointed is they don't appreciate the relationship between compensation and return on investment. So when we talk about the profits, part of the value equation, part of the money that's returned to the owner represents compensation, but buyers tend to just pay multiples of the actual profits of the business or the ROI. So let's talk a little bit about improving the profits part of the equation, and then we'll talk about improving the risk part of the equation. So remember, the value equation for a business is a function of profits and risk. So one of the best examples in my practice that I've seen of a buyer improving the profits part of the equation occurred in a deal early on in my career. And the law firm that I worked for served a number of private equity firms who would buy businesses largely from retiring business owners, improve the operations, and then sell them for more money. And one of the best examples of that is a company that that manufactured and sold windows. And this is a picture of windows. I'll give you a little more context. So they sold the windows into the residential market, and the private equity company wanted to explore what they would have to do to increase the quality of the windows that were being produced in order to sell into the commercial market. And so they tested the windows, and what they discovered was that this company was already producing commercial quality windows and selling them into the residential market. So for almost no investment, this private equity company was able to dramatically increase the profits of the company and increase the value of the company. So that's one example of a good idea that worked out well for our client. Here's a few other ideas that I've seen, strategies to increase the profits part of the equation. The most important one, in my experience, is to make yourself dispensable. If you are indispensable to your business, your business is just worth less because you're probably not going with the company. You're not going to sell yourself with the company. So once you're separated from the operations, the value of the business is just going to plummet. So to the extent that you can make yourself dispensable and replace yourself, you'll increase the value of your company. And the gold standard is to develop a good management team. If you've got a good team in place that's running and managing your business for you, that team can stay in place with the business and be available to the seller, and that'll dramatically increase the value of their business. So for a lot of people, the best thing that they can do to increase the value of their business is just work on improving or developing a management team and replacing themselves. So other strategies I've seen have success: hire a salesperson. I've seen a lot of particularly small companies who just don't have much of a sales operation, and they're successful, but they're really leaving potential untapped because they're not really going after increasing their sales through a professional sales staff. Other ideas that I've seen work with success are exploring other markets. Window manufacturing client was great example of that. Increasing your digital presence or just sharpening your marketing operations generally. All of those can increase the profits and then in turn increase the value of your business. One thing that is very effective is growing your business. And one quick way to grow your business is to acquire either a complementary company or a competitor, but to grow it that way. If we go back to our value equation, the value of your business is a function of the profits that your business develops plus or times this multiple. And So when you acquire another business, you not only, if you did a good job acquiring it, at least, you not only increase the profits of the business, but you can increase the multiple because larger companies are just worth more. The multiples for larger companies tend to be higher than smaller companies. So sometimes by making a key acquisition, you can not only increase the size of the company, but in the profits, but also the multiplier that buyers would apply to your business. So where do you get good ideas? Well, this is E for E. Our website is full of good ideas and expertise. Here are some of my observations. Hire a consultant. This private equity firm, I mean, that's kind of what they are consultants for themselves, but you can get great ideas from bringing in an outside expert to give you some pointers on how you might improve your business. You could join a peer board, which is basically facilitated sessions of people like you, business owners and leaders. You can read books, YouTube, of course, you can learn anything, mastermind groups, seminars. Depending on your industry, there may be some good support from trade groups. So let's talk a minute about the risk part of the equation. And generally speaking, the less certain your profits are to continue on into the future, the lower that multiple is going to be and the less your company is going to be worth. So here's some things that can negatively affect the value on the risk side of the value equation. Uneven performance. If your financial performance from year to year just jumps up and down and up and down, that is going to lower the value of your company. If the arrow's going in the wrong way, the wrong direction, that's going to lower the value of your company. Customer concentration. This is something that maybe not a lot of people think about, but it's a real problem for a lot of companies. If 90% of your business comes from one customer, what happens if the buyer loses that customer? They will have invested money in a company that has no revenues. A lack of customer contracts. And I'm not suggesting that every business needs customer contracts, but what I'm trying to get at here is your revenue stream stable or not? Is the buyer going to be pretty much assured that that revenue is going to continue or increase post-closing? And then we already talked about management team, but if your management team is weak, that's really going to be problematic as far as getting the most for your business. And then one thing I've seen in a number of deals is that people have obsolete inventory or uncollectible accounts receivable on their balance sheet. And so they're showing those basically as assets of the company and trying to get the buyer to pay for that, even though it's really worthless. That cleaning up your financial statements, it's like when you sell a house, you throw a coat of paint on the walls. With the business, you want to make the business look good, both the books, the physical facilities, all of those things, just to put the best face on it. So in the last minute or so, a couple of minutes, I'll talk about preparing yourself. And selling your business is a huge, huge life event for a lot of business owners, one of the most significant events that they have. And so there's an emotional component. It can be very stressful. People are off balance. Even seasoned business people who are used to doing, they're operating in their business for a number of decades, just find themselves a little bit disoriented in the business sale process. Selling a business takes a lot of time. For business owners, you should be ready to have to devote a lot of time every week to selling your business in the negotiations and due diligence and all of that. And it also takes a lot of energy, not just time, but it can be very draining. It can be emotional. This is a life event, so it's very stressful. A lot of business owners' sense of self and of their identity is really tied up in their business. They've been a CEO for 20, 30 years, and now they're looking at that ending. And then they also often have a sense of loyalty to the business itself and also to their employees. And so this is a additional source of stress for them. And then, of course, what's next? You're selling off your business that has been your bread and butter. It's been your life for a while. So it's good to think about what happens the day after closing. So I'll close with just a few pointers. The biggest pointer is just to start early. You can never start too early. Some of the strategies that you might need to undertake in order to maximize the value of your company really takes some time. And so starting early can be very helpful. And then having a good and full team is also important. So, and these are folks here that I think are important for most people to have on their team. Of course, a lawyer. I would say that even if I weren't a lawyer, but it's good to have a lawyer in your team. And it's also good to have a lawyer with deal experience, because doing mergers and acquisitions, buying and selling businesses is different from day-to-day business law. And that's the same thing for your financial or tax advisors. Taxation of the sale of businesses is different from regular day-to-day income tax. And so having a tax advisor who can tell you the pluses and minuses of deal structure and the tax implications of your transaction can really help you maximize the after-tax proceeds that you get from the sale, which of course is what the number that you really care about. And then a business broker for Main Street kind of smaller businesses, or an investment banker for maybe the middle market or larger businesses. Having somebody who knows how to market a business, how to attract buyers, and how to guide you through the sale is just invaluable. And then, hopefully at the end of the road, you'll have a bag of cash. And so, a lot of business owners have had basically most of their wealth tied up in their business. And for the first time, they have liquid wealth that needs to be invested. So having a wealth manager to help you through those things can be helpful.